Hey everybody, John the Other here, obviously. And as you no doubt know, the Metoo moral panic continues to roll forward and destroy people's lives. And, you know, it's a watershed, it's a change of our society. And it is. But probably not in the positive, wonderful way that a lot of mainstream thinkers are claiming. One of the byproducts of the Metoo moral panic movement, whatever you want to call it, is beginning to be evident in social commentary, particularly women-centric. And I don't mean feminist, I just mean women-centric social commentary. The opinions of women written or produced for other women to, tap into. And this is articles that I'm seeing where women complain that they can't get anyone to return a phone call to them. They can't get a text back. They can't get a date. There's articles talking about where men in professional working environments will no longer take closed-door meetings with their female colleagues, will no longer mentor, junior female staff members into more senior positions, and so on. So there seems to be a growing surge in men separating themselves, distancing themselves from women, and born largely out of terror. They are terrified that they will make one wrong move, one slight, tiny wrong move, say one wrong thing, put their hand in the wrong spot, touch somebody on the arm or what have you, and it will spiral out of control into a career-terminating panic where they get accused of all kinds of, criminal masculinity. And men are pulling back, saying, no, can't meet with you, can't give you a ride home, oh, you're on the elevator, I'll just take the stairs. And in response to that, I read the following article, or the following article was written, and I read it. It's from a couple of days ago. It's in metronews.ca, which is the website for a free Canadian newspaper that gets handed out in a lot of Canadian cities. So, here's the article. Men, the answer is to grow up, not avoid women. And it's written by a woman named Judith Timison. It begins as follows. Calling all men. In the wake of the Harvey Weinstein sexual assault and alleged sexual assault scandal and the resultant tsunami of further allegations against prominent men, here are your new instructions. Cancel the office party. It might lead to flirting. Rethink one-on-one business meetings off-site with female colleagues. You never know when one of them will claim you behaved inappropriately. Don't smile at women on the street or offer any observations that could be misconstrued. Avoid unknown and avoid even known women. It's all too dangerous. That, of course, is offered as a parody, as mocking of men's reaction to the moral panic of the Me Too tsunami, right? She continues, she says, these are just some of the absurdio warnings that have popped up recently. The office party dilemma, one in a New York Times article since the explosive allegations last month against powerful Hollywood producer Weinstein, have led to the great sexual harassment reckoning. Witness the swift dispensing of Weinstein. In a matter of days, the New York Times and New York Magazine revealed decades of well-documented predatory behavior towards a number of women, some of whom are now high-wattage stars. He lost his company. He lost his marriage, his reputation. Maybe he will lose his freedom if there's enough to prosecute him on rape accusations. Heed the fact that many women and some men, emboldened by the MeToo hashtag, have begun naming and shaming their harassers everywhere. Now, the article doesn't say, but should say, that there's some bad behavior that's getting called out. But there's also a huge amount of piling on from people who don't have a story, who don't have a sex assault experience, and have just made something up to be another Me Too. And, together with that, there's a whole lot of perfectly normal, uncontroversial, non-pathological, non-violent, non-rape sexual behavior being reframed through the lens of victim. Like, there's a politician in the UK who, I guess, put his hand on somebody's knee at a dinner in, I guess, a friendly way. And instead of just saying, well, no thanks, as a normal grown-up adult would do, that has spiraled and snowballed into a series of accusations against him to such a degree that he killed himself. How many more suicides are there, and how many more will there be? I think non-stop, endless. Those named and accused, some apologizing, some denying, are losing jobs. They're losing their empires. They're losing corporate sponsorships, reputations, and the support of decent people everywhere. The support of conformists, really. It's remarkable, really. What women have known and put up with forever, frightened to report because they might lose their jobs or reputations if they did, has turned a cultural corner and morphed from you can't name this to you can't name them all. There are so many. It's true, you can't. You can't name them all. Because all, in my judgment, all normal, non-pathological, healthy male sexual behavior or expression is now being pathologized in the narrative of the Metoo tsunami. It's like... So I'm going to skip forward a couple paragraphs. So she says then, after a few more paragraphs, so are all men guilty? Are you guilty? Should all men be very afraid of either being exposed now that you have been identified as a sexual harasser, or are you afraid of making one wrong move and then being destroyed? She says, no, of course not. There are a multitude of good men out there who've never harassed anyone, and not all these incidents are equal. Correct. So then, forward again, she says, so let's concede some gray areas, comma, but also admit they are not really the problem. So there are gray areas. Okay, even this author admits it, but they're not the problem, right? No, I disagree. Anyway, I'm going to skip forward to the end of the article because it's kind of delicious. If you have doubts about your behavior, this is now towards men. If you have doubts about your behavior, ask women. Surely the answer is not to avoid women, but to treat them as you expect to be treated, like a competent adult doing a job. And as recent weeks have shown, if you find that difficult, it's all on you. Your days are truly numbered. That's what it says. Put a link to that in a low bar. That's what the article says. It closes with a threat. Okay. Now, I would previously, when I used to write for a men's rights organization, I would have taken delight in relentlessly mocking this article and its author for the numerous and blatant internal inconsistencies in what she's saying. For example, saying in one sentence, let's admit there are gray areas, but they're not the problem. Well, no, they are the problem. They are the problem. They are absolutely, that is 100% of the problem. That there's a whole lot of gray area sexual behavior. And by the way, all sexual behavior is gray area. All of it. That's why it's in its own category. It's a gray area. I would have made fun of this article, but I think there's another possibility. And to be honest, I don't know which of these two possibilities is real. One, that she's just an utter moronic ding-dong who in her own sentence can't see the internal contradiction separated only by a comma, and that's just one. I mean, she ends with a threat. But don't back away, man. Don't leave women alone. Don't separate. And then ends with a threat. Ridiculous. That would have been I would have just mocked her endlessly. But here's the other thing. Here's the other possibility. Women are reputed to be better communicators than men. Feminists have said this for a long time. There is quite a bit of social science data that suggests that women are more nuanced and more skilled at communication than men. Now, women and men have different types of communication. Men tend to be rather direct in what they say. You ask a guy a question, you're likely to get a straight answer. Even if it's a false answer, it'll be linear. Women, on the other hand, communicate in many layers. Anybody who's ever had a girlfriend knows this. There's what she says, there's what she means, which is not what she says. There's another layer of meaning underneath that. And there's, if she's actively employing deception, there's 4 more layers. And when women communicate with each other, it's through all these layers the same. It's not like they just get straight with one another and give you all this sideways hidden message nonsense only when they're talking to other men. So, in this message, which contains threats, which says it's gray areas, but we're not going to pay attention to the gray areas, remember that this is written by a woman who, according to social science and according to women, are better communicators than men. What's the message you get from this? Do you think they're actually saying it's a good idea to continue to have close association with women that you don't know, to give rides to women, from work, to if a woman gets on the elevator, no, don't get off, just stay on and make light chit chat with her? Do you think that's what she's saying here? My question is if we are to read this through the lens of women are better communicators, is the message MGTOW is the answer, that we are now separating as a society, that men and women, the centuries-old experiment of men and women living and working together with one another is over? That's what I think it is. I'd like to know what you think, and you can put your comments in the low bar. So one other item to discuss here, Bill C-51, which is a law arguably designed to prevent anyone from defending themselves against a false claim of sexual assault by precluding evidence in the trial, will be the subject of a panel discussion hosted by Cafe in Toronto at the University of Toronto on Thursday, November 23rd. There's still tickets available. I'll put a link to that in the low bar. The panelists are Andre Marin, former Crown Prosecutor, Joseph Neuberger, a criminal defense lawyer, and Diana Davison of the Lighthouse Project. So if you want to get in on that, see that in Toronto on Thursday, November 23rd. There's a page linked in the low bar, and you can still get tickets. And if you'd like to help get Diana out to Toronto, you can donate to Lighthouse in the low bar as well. Thanks very much for watching, and as always, have a lovely day.